Dear respected guests and colleagues, a warm welcome to you all to Words of Inspiration. The title of this video is Test the Claims, Prophecies, Qur'an Proof. My name is Masood Saeed, and I will be your narrator for this video. How can we know which religion is true? This is a fundamental question for many people. The world has many religions. Each one claims to hold the truth. This can be confusing. It makes the search for truth seem difficult. We need a clear method to evaluate these claims. We should not simply disbelieve. We must look at the evidence presented. Evidence is the tool that helps us navigate complex questions. It allows us to move beyond feelings upbringing. It helps us make a reasoned decision about what is real and what is not. A serious seeker of truth must demand serious proof. A skeptic might ask, why should I believe in Islam over any other religion or any religion at all? This is a fair and important question. A Muslim speaker might respond with a simple invitation. The invitation is to look at the evidence. The speaker would suggest that we should not dismiss any religion without first checking its claims. Saying all religions are false is a very big statement. It requires just as much proof as saying one religion is true. The proper approach is to examine each faith on its own terms. The first step in this process is to avoid generalizations. No religion has the complete truth. Sounds wise, but it is an unproven assumption. How could a person know this for certain? It would require a deep and exhaustive study of every single religion's claims and evidence. The Muslim speaker would argue that this is not a practical starting point. Instead, we should take a more focused approach. We should study each faith one by one. We should look for real, tangible proof for its core claims. A general rule, a broad dismissal, is simply not enough for something so important. We must engage with the details. This leads to the second step, asking for specifics. Vague objections are not helpful in a serious discussion. If someone says, I think Islam has false teachings, the speaker would ask for an example. Which teaching is false? Why is it false? What evidence proves its falsehood? Good arguments are built on facts and clear reasoning. They do not rely on vague feelings, general statements. The conversation between a skeptic and a believer often begins with a challenge. The skeptic might say, prove to me that your religion is true. This is a reasonable demand. However, the Muslim speaker would first clarify the nature of the claim. To understand if Islam is true, we must first understand what Islam claims to be. Without this understanding, any discussion of proof is meaningless. It's like trying to solve a math problem without knowing what the numbers represent. The first step is always to define the terms of the debate. We must be clear about what we are trying to prove or disprove. The speaker would explain the Islamic perspective on truth. Muslims believe God has been sending guidance to humanity since the very beginning. This guidance came through a series of prophets, Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus. They all taught the same core message, to worship the one true God, to live a righteous life. This message is called Islam, meaning submission to God. The fundamental truth has always been the same, a single continuous thread of revelation throughout human history. The Muslim perspective also addresses why different religions exist today. Muslims believe original messages were altered over time by people. Some parts were lost, some parts were changed, new ideas were added. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the core message was one, but human transmission was imperfect. That led to the need for a final definitive revelation. That final message was meant to correct changes and restore the original truth in its purest form. This is where the Qur'an comes in. Muslims believe the Qur'an is the final message from God. It was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, over 23 years. It is seen as the culmination of previous revelations. A key part of the belief is that God promised to preserve the Qur'an perfectly. Muslims claim its text has not been changed since it was first revealed. Because it's both final and perfectly preserved, Muslims see it as the ultimate guide today. This claim of preservation is itself evidence that can be investigated and tested by historians and scholars. Understanding the Islamic worldview is crucial for evaluating its evidence. A claim of truth is not made in a vacuum. It is part of a larger story about God-humanity revelation. The Muslim speaker would emphasize that making a claim is easy. Many religions and philosophies claim to be true. A Christian might say their religion is the only path. A Buddhist might explain their path to enlightenment. A simple claim by itself does not prove anything. It is merely the starting point of an investigation. The real substantive question is not who claims to be true, but rather who can provide evidence for the claim. If a person claims to be a prophet, they must have some way to prove their connection to a divine source. This proof cannot be something ordinary. It must be something that a normal human being could not produce. It must be a sign, a miracle, or a form of knowledge that transcends normal human abilities. This is the standard that Islam sets for itself and for any legitimate prophetic claim. It invites scrutiny based on this high standard of proof. So, what kind of evidence does Islam offer to meet this standard? The Muslim speaker would typically present several categories of proof. These are not secret teachings, but are openly discussed and offered for examination. The speaker might list four main types. The first is prophecies. This refers to statements made by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, about future events that it is claimed later happened exactly as he predicted. This is a direct test of knowledge that is beyond human capacity. The other categories of evidence are just as important. The second type is what some call scientific signs in the Qur'an. This is the idea that the scripture contains verses describing natural phenomena, such as embryology, the water cycle, in ways that were not known to science at that time. The third type is historical information. Let's look at these four pillars of evidence more closely. The first and perhaps most powerful is prophecy. The claim is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, made numerous specific predictions about the future. These were not vague or general statements that could apply to anything. They were detailed predictions about people, places, political events, social changes. The assertion is that these events unfolded centuries later, just as he described. If a person can consistently and accurately predict the future, it strongly suggests that their source of knowledge is not ordinary. It points toward a source that is outside of time and human limitation, which is a description of God. The second pillar concerns the relationship between the Quran and modern science. This is a popular but sometimes controversial area. The argument is that the Quran, a book revealed in the 7th century, contains statements about the natural world that align remarkably well with modern scientific discoveries. For example, verses describing the stages of embryonic development in the womb are cited in the Quran, Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verses 12 to 14. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فَقَرَارٍ مَكَانٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا ثُمَّ أَنشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. translated as, "And certainly we created man from an extract of clay. Then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm resting place. Then we created the sperm drop into a clinging clot, and we created the clinging clot into a lump, and we created the lump into bones, and we clothed the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators." And other such verses are creation from a sperm drop, Nutfa, Surah Al-Insan, chapter 76, verse 2. Creation from a sperm drop, Surah An-Nahl, chapter 16, verse 4. Creation from a sperm drop, Surah Yasin, chapter 36, verse 77. Development in the womb, most detailed passage, Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verses 12 to 14. Development in the womb, resurrection, analogy, Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verse 5. Three veils, layers of darkness in the womb, Surah Az-Zumar, chapter 39, verse 6. Embryonic stages, Nutfa, Alaka, creation, Surah Al-Qiyamah, chapter 75, verses 37 to 39. Created from a mingled sperm drop, Surah Al-Insan, chapter 76, verse 2. Allah fashions the child in the womb, Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 6. Allah forms you in the wombs as He wills, Surah Ghafir, chapter 40, verse 67. Human development from dust to maturity, Surah Ghafir, chapter 40, verse 67. Allah knows what every female carries, Surah Ar-Rad, chapter 13, verse 8. Allah's complete knowledge of the fetus, Surah An-Najm, chapter 53, verse 32. From dust, then sperm drop, then a man, Surah Al-Kahf, chapter 18, verse 37. From dust, then sperm drop, then proportioned, Surah Al-Qiyamah, chapter 75, verses 37 to 39. Creation in stages, Surah Nuh, chapter 71, verse 4. Man created from an extract of clay, Surah As-Sajdah, chapter 32, verses 7 to 9. Expansion of the universe. Internal waves of the deep ocean. The claim is that a person living in the Arabian desert 1,400 years ago could not have known these facts on their own. Therefore, this knowledge must have come from the Creator who designed the universe. The third pillar is historical information. The Quran speaks about ancient civilizations and figures such as Pharaoh of Moses' time, the people of Ad Thamud. It sometimes provides specific details that were not part of the common knowledge or biblical traditions of 7th century Arabia. For instance, the Quran uses the title Pharaoh for the ruler in the time of Moses, but king for the ruler in the time of Joseph, a distinction that modern Egyptology has confirmed is historically accurate. When such details, unknown at the time, are later verified by independent historical and archaeological research, Muslims see this as powerful corroboration of the Quran's divine origin. The fourth pillar is the preservation of the Quran itself. Muslims hold the firm belief that the text of the Quran recited today is identical, letter for letter, to the revelation received by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. According to Nikolai Sinai, in the Bulletin of the School of Oriental and African Studies 2023, the standard consonantal text, Rasem, of the Quran had reached closure by the time of the third Caliph, Uthman ibn Affan, around 650 CE or earlier. According to Fred M. Donner, in the Cambridge Companion to the Quran, 2006, the Islamic tradition records that the Quran was compiled shortly after the Prophet's death, resulting in the text that has been transmitted to the present day. According to Michael Cook, in the Quran, a very short introduction, 2000, because Muslims regarded the Quran as the literal word of God, they devoted exceptional care to preserving and reproducing its text with great precision. Although non-Muslim scholars do not evaluate the theological claim of divine revelation itself, These academic studies recognize the remarkably early stabilization and careful transmission of the Quranic text. This claim is supported by a strong and unbroken tradition of memorization and written transmission. From the very beginning, hundreds of companions memorized the entire text, and it was compiled into a single book shortly after the Prophet's death. This textual stability is crucial. It means that when we test a prophecy or a scientific statement found in the Quran, we can be confident we are testing the original words, not a later alteration or corruption. So the evaluation can proceed on reliable, preserved text. At this point, a skeptic might raise another objection. They might say, other religions also claim to have prophecies. Christians point to prophecies about Jesus in the Old Testament. This is a valid point. The Muslim speaker would not dismiss it. Instead, they would welcome the comparison. The speaker would ask for clear examples from other traditions. Vague claims of fulfilled prophecy are not helpful. We need to examine the specifics. Was the prophecy clear and unambiguous before the event occurred? Or was it vague and interpreted to fit the event only after it happened? This is a critical distinction. Many supposed prophecies suffer from post-event interpretation. A vague verse is found in an old text. After a major event, people say, this is what that verse was talking about. This is reading meaning into a text, not finding a clear prediction. A genuine prophecy must be a clear lock before you find the key. It must be a specific statement made beforehand. It must then be matched by a specific event afterward. Apply this strict standard, and many other claims don't hold up. What makes the prophecies attributed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, different? The speaker highlights three characteristics. First, their sheer number. Not one or two lucky guesses, dozens, even hundreds of documented predictions. Second, their specificity. They name specific people. They name tribes. They name places. They describe the nature of future events in detail. Third, their track record. This body of predictions has not been proven false. The events that were supposed to happen have happened. Quantity, specificity, and accuracy together make the case compelling. This moves the discussion beyond lucky guesses. One or two hits could be coincidence, but dozens of detailed hits across areas are statistically improbable. Like predicting exact scores of 10 football games in a row, after 2 or 3 correct calls, you'd pay attention. By the 10th, you'd suspect an information source no one else has. To make the argument concrete, the speaker would provide a clear example of a prophecy. One of the most famous and visually verifiable predictions is a statement made by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, about the signs of the end of time. According to Sahih Muslim, citing the narration of Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, described some of the signs of the hour as mentioned in Sahih Muslim Hadithat. قال فأخبرنا أن أمارتها قال أن تليد ألمة ربتها وأن ترى الهفة العورة العلة رعاء الششائية تتولنا فالبنيان. Translated as, he, Jibril, said, then tell me about its signs. He, the Prophet, replied that the slave woman will give birth to a mistress, and that you will see the barefoot, naked, destitute shepherds competing in the construction of tall buildings. This statement was made by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, in 7th century Arabia, during the famous Hadith of Jibril, in which the angel Gabriel, appeared in the form of a man, and questioned the Prophet about Islam, man, faith, ihsan, spiritual excellence, and the signs of the hour. Scholars such as Yahya ibn Sharaf an-Nawawi explain that near the end of time, children will become so disrespectful that they will treat their mothers as though they were slaves, ordering and humiliating them instead of honoring them. This is understood as a sign of the breakdown of family values and filial respect. At that time, the Arabs of the peninsula were largely poor Bedouins. Many were indeed shepherds. They lived in simple tents, mud brick houses. The idea that these people would one day be competing to construct the tallest structures in the world was completely unimaginable. Now let us fast forward to today, the year 2026. Look at the Arabian Gulf region. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh are home to some of the most futuristic and tallest skyscrapers on the planet. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai has been the world's tallest building for many years. The Makkah Royal Clock Tower in Saudi Arabia is another of the world's tallest structures. The very descendants of those barefoot shepherds are now engaged in a well-known competition to outdo one another in constructing massive towering buildings. The prediction has been fulfilled in a literal way, public way, undeniable way. The skeptic's natural response is to ask, could this be a coincidence? It is a fair question. One fulfilled prediction, even a dramatic one, might be dismissed as a lucky guess or a clever observation of a potential trend. However, the speaker would argue that this is just one example among many. The strength of the evidence does not lie in a single prophecy. It lies in the cumulative weight of numerous specific predictions, all coming true. It is the pattern of consistent accuracy that challenges the explanation of mere chance. When a source is repeatedly correct about future events it has no business knowing, we must consider the possibility that the source is extraordinary. This is why prophecies are considered such high-quality evidence. They provide a direct test of a claim to knowledge of the unseen future. Unlike philosophical arguments, which can be debated endlessly, a prophecy is a testable hypothesis. Either the event happens as predicted, or it does not. It is a clear binary outcome. If a person or a book demonstrates a consistent ability to accurately predict future events in detail, it is very strong evidence that their source of knowledge is beyond the normal human realm. It is difficult to fake this kind of knowledge. The discussion returns to the main question: why should one believe that Islam is the one true religion? The Muslim speaker's answer is not a demand for blind faith. It is an appeal to reason and sincere investigation. The answer is, study the evidence for yourself. Do not accept claims without testing. Do not reject claims without examining them. Look at the prophecies presented in the Islamic tradition. Read the Qur'an. Investigate its scientific and historical claims. Review evidence for the preservation of its texts. A decision of this magnitude deserves careful and honest study. The speaker would re-engage the skeptic directly. Keep your questions clear and specific. Broad sweeping statements like all religions are man-made are not productive. Which specific religion have you studied in depth? What evidence did you find that led you to your conclusion? Can you name a specific prophecy from Islam that you investigated and found false? This encourages a methodical, evidence-based dialogue. Move from general disbelief to specific inquiry. Final message: a call to action, an invitation to anyone genuinely searching for the truth. If you want to know which religion, if any, is from God, put in the effort. Examine the facts with an open mind. Study the primary sources. Ask for specific proofs and test them. Don't rely on second-hand info or popular opinion. Go directly to the Quran. Read about the life and statements of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Compare claims with historical and scientific evidence. After a thorough investigation, you can make an informed decision. This approach is fair to all sides. It does not ask for belief without reason. It asks for honest study and critical thinking. Responsibility is on the individual seeker to weigh the evidence. The search for truth is a personal journey. Evidence and arguments can be presented, but each must walk the path themselves. The invitation is to begin the walk with a careful first step, honest examination. Tell us where you are watching from, city, state, or country. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with more inspiring content. Your support helps us reach more people and keep these important conversations alive. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or personal experiences. Share them in the comments below. Your voice truly matters. Together, we can build a meaningful dialogue that benefits us all. Thank you for watching. May this video serve as a source of knowledge and reflection.